Well, hello, everybody. Welcome to the Preacher Dad podcast. My name is Jared. I am the Preacher Dad, and we are glad to have you here for Fatherhood Friday. And today, our fatherhood panel is going to discuss living on one income. All of the panel members live on one income, and we are excited to share with you a little bit of our thoughts, some strategies, tips, things you can do to be able to live on one income. Is it important? What's the significance of it? So I hope that you'll stick around and listen in. And also, I want to remind you that the Preacher Dad podcast is brought to you in part by Cornerstone Fellowship. Cornerstone Fellowship is just a small country church just a little bit north of Toomsboro, Georgia. And we would love for you to come and visit us. And yet, if you're not able to visit us, you're out of town, maybe out of state, you can visit us online at cornerstonefellowship-ga.org. cornerstonefellowship-ga.org, and we would love to hear from you and visit with you. God bless you. Let's start Fatherhood Friday. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Fatherhood Friday on the Preacher Dad podcast. We're glad to have you here. I'm here tonight with Matt Stewart and Nathan Eisner. We are your fatherhood panel, and we're going to discuss tonight's topic is single income families. I know this is something that's important to a lot of dads out there, probably moms too. If you're a parent, you know that this is a challenge, and making it in today's world is just seems like in many ways harder and harder and harder. So I really want to hopefully give somebody out there some encouragement and some wisdom and understanding. And to get us started tonight on that, we're going to throw it over here to my brother, Matt Stewart. Matt, why don't you get us going here?
Yeah, I appreciate it, Jared. Thank you. Yeah, it's definitely a very important topic, and there's got to be millions probably of thoughts on this, pros, cons. Everybody's situation's different, but I want to spend a little bit of time talking about why I think this is important to work towards. Maybe some are already there and struggling. Maybe some are just thinking about it. Maybe some that are listening have never thought about this at all. But I do want to start out with some scripture. As we just makes me think about our Chick-fil-A days, start with the why, right? Everybody needs to know why we're doing something. And so why do we think this single income family is a good thing? And when I'm saying that too, we're talking about the the men working, the women staying at home. I don't think we would want that to be the other way around. So anyway, scripture, there's obviously I'm not a professional. I don't know Bible inside and out, but I know there's several verses that are popular, that stand out when it comes to women staying home, taking care of the home, managing the household, taking care of the kids, and wanted to hit on three of them. One is Titus 2:3-5, and it's telling the older women are teaching the younger women what is good. And so what is good is that the younger women love their husbands and children. They stay self-controlled, pure, work at home, and be kind and submissive to their husbands. So we see they're working at home. Also in 1 Timothy 5:14, it's speaking to young widows and why they should get married to basically stay out of sin. And it says, so I would have younger widows marry, bear children, manage their household, and give the adversary no occasion for slander. And then the third one, which I'm not going to read all of, is the Proverbs 31 woman. And just kind of summarize it. If this is the first time hearing about Proverbs 31, it's about a woman who works with her hands a lot, She rises while it's still dark. She provides food for the family. She buys land. She plants gardens. She stays up late and sews. She provides for the needy. She makes products and sells them. She manages her household, cares for her children and husband, and most importantly, she fears the Lord. So as I'm as I continue to go on this a little bit, you'll hear me say, manage her household, make her family a priority. Those keep coming up all the time, and it's in all of those passages I just mentioned. So um, again, this is main. As I'm talking, I'm thinking about a family who has a husband and wife who has children, right? Because most of our listeners have children, so it you know a just a husband and wife who have no children, she could still stay at home, and I think that's fine and good. But obviously, most women probably work in that case, and that's fine. There's no children at home. But um,
So you're saying that the primary reason that a wife would stay at home is to care for the children, is what you're saying there. Is that right?
managing the household, which
Okay.
primarily is, well, I think primarily, I mean, it's she has her duty to her husband,
Mm.
um, and I guess I'm thinking like making taking care of the inside of the home, so the husband can focus on maybe more of the outside of the home and working, like actually going
Mhm.
to a job and taking care of the outside of his home. But
Mhm.
yeah, kids are the main thing. Um, so we just went over some scripture um, that I would argue, says that women should stay at home. But does God forbid the woman from working outside the home? Um, and this is, I think, I don't think he does forbid that. I don't think it's forbidden. I think it's could be acceptable if she can still manage her household and keep her kids and her home her priority. Um, but um, it may not be the wisest thing to do, you know. And again, there's so many different situations, and I know people, I know women who are nurses and they work very minimal hours just to kind of keep their certification, and they can still maybe homeschool their kids, can still cooks and provides for her family, but she can work a little bit. I think that's fine. I don't think that's forbidden. Um, Even my wife, she coaches a lot of sports, not for money, but she just coaches, volunteers and coaches. And she always asks herself, can I, if I do this, will my family still be a priority? Are we still going to have dinner together? Are we still going to have a peaceful, a house and all that kind of stuff? So those are the things that run through her mind a lot. But um, So another question that kind of brings up in my mind is can the mom work to provide to earn money to send her kids to a good Christian school? And I think that would be acceptable and a good thing. Now, you know, as long as the motivation is there, like if the reason why she's working is to provide that good Christian education for her children, I think that's fine. But if it's to buy fancy clothes, nice cars, whatever, then I think that's probably not the wise thing to do. So,
And also,
and
just
by
to
the
jump in there real quick, I would put a caveat on that saying, make sure the Christian school that you send them to is actually a good Christian school
oh,
and
of
not
course,
just a normal school with the word Christian slapped on it. Not,
no,
and that you got to do your own research on that.
absolutely,
But I hear so many people that grew up in a Christian private education that talk about how, yeah, it was basically public school. We just went to chapel every day. So just throwing that out there.
absolutely, 100%. And there's a lot of people that I follow online or whatever, brilliant men, very respected men who really advocate for sending the kids off to school, especially the boys.
Yeah,
But
the
again,
classical
yeah,
education.
yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So there may be times too where the woman has to work, special situations, and again, it could be a ton, but maybe the husband is can't work for whatever reason. He's learning a trade or medical conditions, health insurance, whatever it may be. But I think the goal needs to be keep your wife at home as soon as possible and work towards that. Um, a little side note about my family. Yeah, we started out. My wife got her master's and was planning on working, and she did for a couple of years. Um, had a child. We looked for daycares. We were getting ready to put the kid in daycare to go back, so she'd go back to work. And then God changed our hearts, thankfully, and she's been at home ever since for 13 years now, and it's been such a blessing. So, um, a few benefits of the wife staying home. First of all, it's how God designed the family. Everybody says if mom is happy, everybody's happy. Well, really though, if I do think a family is probably happier if the mom is staying home doing what she was designed to do, to care for her kids. Um, it's less stress when she has to focus just on the house and kids versus the house, the kids, and a full-time job. Right. So I do think mommy is gonna be more joyful and happier if she's at home. Obviously, there's homeschool. There's tons of benefits for that. So much freedom, and you can specialize your child's education. Huge blessing there. Um, so much that the mom can teach the kids, Bible stuff about life, for the girls how to be feminine. So many different things. Obviously, the house, having it clean and orderly, having food ready when the husband gets home. That's such a great feeling. Walking in the door, kids tackle you, and you smell, tacos cooking or whatever. That's wonderful. Um, it's good for the kids if mama's home. Um, and it helps. Um, I mentioned it earlier. It helps take pressure off of like inside of the house, so the dad can focus on things outside. And then lastly, as I kind of wrap up my little portion, how to make it happen practically. And again, there's lots of different things that you can do. Um, but I will say it's going to be hard, and it's going to take sacrifices from both the man and the woman to make this happen. But first, pray to God that He will change your hearts. Um, if you're not doing it, pray that He will change your heart. He'll give you wisdom, um, and trust that He will provide for you. Proverbs 3:9 through 10, Matthew 6 are some good verses, but first we got to pray about it. And then you got to pray about, like, God, what are some things that we need to give up? We need to change. And it's going to be tough, but it may be for women. It may be, buying expensive clothes, not buying expensive clothes anymore. You can still look pretty without really expensive clothes. Haircuts, manicures, whatever, makeup. Even for us too, at times it's been like organic food. Maybe we have to cut back on that a little bit, just to save some money. Men, we know, vehicles. It could be sports, guns, machines, toys, all kind of stuff for the men.
Hey, adventurers, ready to level up your outdoor game? At Goose Feet Gear, they're committed to keeping you crazy warm without weighing you down. I've known the founder and owner, Ben Smith, for nearly 2 decades, and his commitment to quality is outstanding. Their custom down socks, jackets, and pants are made in the USA and packed with premium 850 plus fill power goose down. Perfect for backpacking, camping, or hunting. Tailored to you with 10% off if you use the promo code FATHERHOOD. Check out goosefeetgear.com and feel the ultralight difference. That's goosefeetgear.com.
Cable TV packages.
Yeah. I had on my next thing.
You don't need 600 channels.
Yeah. The next thing I was going to say was subscriptions.
Yeah.
And that could be a lot of different ways. Yeah, absolutely.
I don't, I've never had Wi-Fi ever. We use Visible, which uses Verizon's towers. That's our phone provider, and it has unlimited hotspot. And it's not the greatest, but it works. And it
Yeah.
lets me pay my bills, and it lets me do this podcast from time to time. This is the first time it's ever worked at my house, so pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, there are a lot of necessities that have only become necessity within the last 20 years.
Right.
You're so right, Nate. If we would slow
Yeah.
down and we would start to kind of think, is that really a need? Is there another way to do that? I think that's one of the most important things that we have to consider when we start talking about practically applying the principles that Matt just laid out for us. Is lay down line by line. Do we need this? And if it is a need, think, is there another way to do it? Like you're talking, I use hotspots too. We don't use Wi-Fi at our home. We've not done that for a number of years because hotspots get the job done for what we need to do. We're not playing online games. We don't need a high bandwidth. We're not. There's no need for that. And most people, I would say most families, don't need to have that kind of high bandwidth internet. But I mean, some families, they just live without the internet at all.
Yeah.
And maybe that's possible for you. I don't know, Matt,
Yeah.
you got some more practical tips for us?
I mean, and so it's, we do get comfortable with all these modern things, but like you're saying, we may have to, you may have to give up a little bit, change things up some. Our next episode is going to be about sports, but even one thing I've thought about a lot over the years, and we try to keep our kids involved in some sort of sports, but that can be very expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And especially if we don't do any travel, anything like that, but that could be $1,000 of who knows. But we try to, when we do it, we try to get the ones where the kids can play at the same time and you get family discounts and all that kind of stuff. But you have to think differently about things. So another thing that we try to do is we accept a lot of hand-me-downs when it comes to clothes for our kids.
Oh yeah.
So just this past, we had a baby last week, or 10 days ago, and last Sunday at church we probably got $400 or $500 worth of clothes given to us. I mean, I had my whole trunk was full of clothes. So
that's, Matt, that's an interesting point too, and that strikes up another conversation, which I don't really know our demographic, who all's watching, but that's one more reason to get in a church. That's one more reason to get into a homeschool co-op, because I mean, I'm not saying that if you're not in church, you won't ever get a bag of hand-me-downs, but I mean, just since my kids have been born, dude, we have given away more clothes than we knew what to do with that I didn't buy, that just came because they just get passed through the church.
Yeah.
And that's a small detail, but that is, I can't even imagine how much money we have saved over the years, just because that's part of Christian culture.
Yeah.
And
everyone is so generous. Yeah. And we even do that with car seats. We do it with maternity clothes. I know women may not,
not to make the church a materialistic thing, but that is one of the benefits of bearing each other's burdens, which is biblically commanded, that you're just not going to get if you're not involved in a church.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah. A few more things, practical things. It may be that we have to sell expensive vehicles that we're paying monthly on and paying tons of interest, to buy something cheaper that still gets us to work, right? We may have to move to a different house. And you can cut costs, but obviously you can make extra money, right? So maybe you invest in something that saves you money in the long run. For us, maybe it's a meat grinder for my deer meat that I paid $450 for 12 years ago and have paid for it like 7 times, something like that. Maybe you have to pick up a little bit of side work for the man. You don't want to do too much, not be around for your family, but you may have to do a little bit more. But there's so many different ways
for a season too. That can be for a season. Dave Ramsey talks about that. You might deliver pizzas for a year while you get out of debt, and then you're one of your rewards for getting out of debt is, hey, you can go quit your pizza delivery job. So
right. Yeah, absolutely.
I think that go ahead, Matt.
Well, I just got 2 things. and
Okay.
then I'll turn it over to you for comments. One more thing is during all of this thought, if you're actually making that transition, if you're doing it right now, don't quit paying tithe. You cannot
Yeah.
you cannot stop doing that. That is
Yeah.
you and the Lord has blessed me so much, and I've always tried to be faithful, paying tithe, and I really do. That matters. I definitely would say if nothing else, you need to keep doing that. Cut everything else, but don't cut that. And last thing, just kind of a little side note, I would say, in terms of, you know, if your wife is working and you want to get her back home, she'll have less stress. Um, I would also advise, and I'm not sure how y'all do it or not, but my wife doesn't have a clue about about our finances. I worry about that. She'll check in with me. Hey, is it okay if I buy this curriculum for $100? And I say yes, but that's just one less thing she has to worry about. So she can just focus on the kids. Let all of her brain space be on the kids and the house, and being godly, mother and wife. And that's just one less thing she has to worry about. And so those were kind of my thoughts.
I think it's interesting.
Any other comments?
Yeah, I think it's interesting as you bring up the Proverbs 31 woman, because clearly in that scripture, the primary responsibility that she has is within the home and caring for even her servant girls and her family, her husband and children. But she's not forbidden from making an income. I mean, she's
Right.
going into land deals. She's working in real estate. She's got income coming in. And I think that we kind of need to readjust the paradigm here that says, look, the Bible does clearly teach that a woman's priority needs to be the home and a man's priority needs to be his family. And, he's going out into the world and earning the income to bring home and help care for his family. But she is also needed and important to be a keeper at home and to keep the home and watch over it. That's what that word means. And it's not some wives, they feel they're not fulfilled unless they get out there in the world and do something. And that's because they've been convinced that only the work you do outside of the home is valuable, and that the things that you're doing in the home are not. I know that if my wife were paid for what she does in the home, she would make like six figures 100 times over. Like she would be so well paid because of the things that she has to do on a regular basis. She's working all the time, but
Right.
that is part of her responsibility to our family. And we're a team. We're working together. It's not like I come home and say, "Hey, baby, go get me a sandwich and go take out the trash." It's part of the inside the house, honey. That's not a biblical attitude for a man to have either.
Of course not.
But I just think that we need to readjust this paradigm so that women recognize there is, number one, incredibly valuable to be at home, and number two, you can still make a living, or not maybe a living, but you can provide an income. I know that my wife looks at it as her job to save as much money as possible. It's my job to earn as much as possible, and her job is to save as much as possible. And she's so good at it. When I tell people how much we live on and like what her budget has been since we've been married, for the number of children that we have, they are astounded. I'm talking like she runs our household for a third of what most of our friends do.
Yeah.
8
Well,
children.
that's a great point. That's a really good point, Jared. And I just want to say it too, without disclosing income. My wife and I, so we are a single income family. We have been almost since we got married. My wife worked at a coffee shop for like a year after we got married, and we didn't have kids yet, and she made like nothing at all, but she loved it. But once we got pregnant, there was really no question. I mean, it just, her, and she'll tell you this, she was actually getting her cosmetology license at the time, and I mean, naturally, her mindset just kind of shifted. Once we were pregnant, she wanted to stay home. She didn't really have a desire to go back. But all that to say, we have never made a lot of money, ever. And again, not to disclose incomes, but right near the poverty line, we've always been right at it or right above it. So it's and we've made it work. Now, granted, we have had our family has helped us out a lot, not by
Yeah.
giving us money, but by helping us with places to live until we could afford something better. And so we were very blessed in that regard. I know not everybody has that, but
Right.
Matt, you're talking about making sacrifices. We make sacrifices. You talk about saving money. We cook at home. You don't eat out every meal. In fact, you
Mhm.
don't eat out hardly ever. Now, has there been times that we have broken that rule? Absolutely. Have we paid a price for it? Absolutely. Now, we've never had our lights turned off and we've never gone hungry, but there have been times where we've thought, we probably shouldn't have spent that money, and we've had to learn some hard lessons. But yeah, I mean, it can be done. You don't have to make $100,000 a year, on one income to make it happen. And
Yeah.
I will just say you don't have to make close to $100,000 to be happy either.
Right.
You can have a very normal, satisfying life with your family.
You know,
Charlie Kirk talked about that. Have more. He would say, have more kids than you can afford. And
I
that's
love that line. I
I
love.
couldn't
I said
agree
that to
more with him.
somebody today.
Yeah, yeah,
I agree. Yeah, we've gotten outflanked by the enemy, who convinced us that you should only have children if you can pay for them.
Mhm.
And
we've never been
you
able to
know,
afford our kids, and we keep having.
in my opinion, God pays for what he does. So if God gives you a child, he's going to make sure that you're able to care for that child.
Yeah.
I mean, look, we I want to give some more practical tips real quickly, but you know, our family of 8 children, my wife and I have 8 children, and we live on one income. And do we drive beat up old vehicles? Yeah, we sure do. Do we cram ourselves into the house we can afford? It's probably too small for us. Yes, we do. you know, but you make sacrifices because that's what we need to do. Oh, also, it's very important. I want to emphasize something. Stay out of debt as
Yeah,
much
that's
as you
huge.
can.
That is huge. It
It
really is.
is it we would have gone under. Number one, Nate, you reminded me, we wouldn't have been able to do this without the help of our family and
Family.
friends in so many different
Mhm.
ways. But also, being debt free has been huge. There's been a
That
couple
makes
times
all the difference in the world.
that it does when we've had some credit card debt, um, you know, different things that we'd use a credit card for, trying to build credit. And honestly, that was like the most stressful financial time of
It
our
is.
marriage, is when we're trying to get out of that hole. And if you just do if you don't got the money to pay for it, just don't go into debt for it. It's not really worth it if you stop and think about this. I want us to try to give a couple last minute. We're running up on time, but give some last minute, maybe your best life hacks or tips for getting by on less. One thing that my wife said that we should recommend is that try not to waste anything. Waste as little as possible. My wife will take the peanut butter jar and she will scrape with a rubber
Mhm.
scraper the last drop of peanut butter out of that thing. I'm going, just throw it away. It's empty. You're not going to get a half of a teaspoon out of that peanut butter jar, but she's getting in there to get it. And I
It
mean, it's
adds
that
up
way
though.
with everything. And it does add up. And that's one thing I learned this year is, I'm the spender in our relationship. And so, sometimes on the way home, I might stop and get a little snack to have on the way home, a little hamburger maybe, or something to drink. And it got to be to the point where I was doing that almost every day. It's
Yeah.
$5 or $6, $7, sometimes 10. And my wife said, you need to quit that. And so I have tried harder to stop doing that. And we took some strategies and, spent money on things that I would like to eat on the way home, and
Mhm.
it's cheaper per bar, so that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And that has relieved a lot of pressure, much more than I thought it would. Just changing that one thing.
Well, I will say this. So first of all, I'm going to write a YouTube channel, Clear Value Hacks. Brian Kim. I like that guy a lot. Doesn't completely follow the Dave Ramsey strategy, which Dave Ramsey is another great guy, but it's good to get various opinions. But Brian Kim, he's got some good budgeting stuff, but he talks about not spending money on things that don't add value to your life. And that's where, now, you and the three of us as Christians are probably going to have a little bit different of a perspective on what that means, something that adds value to your life. But for me, we're talking about, you're talking about stopping by gas stations or whatever, picking up, soft drinks or hamburgers, or we're talking about subscriptions. I'll tell you one subscription that has added a ton of value to my life, and that is the Panera Sip Club, because I like to stop and get drinks. And when you can pay $15 a month and get unlimited drinks anytime you're near a Panera, think about how much you're spending on, a single bottle of Coke. You might spend $2 or $3. You do that a few times, you're right up there at that $15 where, there's little things like that exist, where it's a flat rate. And if you're going to do it, if that's just something that you love to do, if you can't afford the $15, you just need to suck it up and not spend the $15. But
Then you shouldn't be
I will
getting
say,
drinks at all.
yeah, then I would say that $15 is a heck of a lot better than spending, a collective $50, $60, $70, $80 a month, because you just stop by a convenience store every time you see one. When, you could be a little bit smarter. They might not have all the drink selections you like, or you might not be near a Panera all the time. But that's just something that's helped me out with that kind of stuff.
That's good.
I can go a week without, a spontaneous transaction, because I've got access to that. So that's big. And I would say just the last thing, as far as valuing, because we've given a lot of practical tips, but you just got to ask yourself, what is your why behind, why you're living your life? And why would you value multiple incomes? For us, we never had the luxury of having two incomes, because we had kids. We got pregnant 6 months into our marriage, and so we never knew what it was like to have two incomes, and I think that's helped us because we didn't get spoiled by it. But I would say you just have to ask yourself why. If it's so that you can buy the toys, so that you can have the house that's more expensive, so that you can do X, Y, and Z. Money is a fantastic tool, but it will leave you wanting more. And if you start making your life decisions based on what you can afford or what you wish you could afford one day, I think you're going to find that you spend a lot of time striving to get something that you probably wish you had just spent better quality time with family in the process. So I don't know if that makes sense, but I think, and kind of Matt, what you were talking about earlier, and this is me, I can't speak for women. I can't speak for my wife because I'm not my wife. I'm not a woman, but I definitely am complementarian in my theology, in my worldview. And I think if you feel like you have to have your value, if you feel like your value comes from your profession, I think the first step would be to have an honest assessment of your identity in Christ and what you believe about who Christ says you are. Because God created men and women equal. We just have very different purposes. And that's not to say that women can't do professions. There are certainly, I've worked with a lot of women over the years, and they're great at their jobs. Not to say that you can't do them. Obviously they can do them. We've proven that. And I'm not going to, I'm not going to live your life for you. You got to make those decisions yourself. But I just got to ask you, if you want to have the most satisfaction in your life, and if you want to live out exactly who God created you to be, just have that honest conversation with the Lord, because and be humble. Same for men. Ask yourself, why do you want to be a stay-at-home dad? Is that you really think that's what the Lord created you to be? This is more for fathers out here. So, but not talking to the women, we're talking to the dads. But hopefully that makes sense. Kind of rambling now, but
30 seconds, Jared, and then I'm going to be done. One is for any homeschool parents out there, you can get a lot of books and stuff for free from the library. Instead of having to buy all these books, whatever that you're going to use for one time and then that'll be it, just library. Number two, if you live near a Kroger, you can get you a Kroger credit card. You don't have to use it much, just a little bit. And you can get 4 times the fuel points on Fridays when you do a grocery pickup. And please look into it because if you live near a Kroger and you buy your groceries from Kroger, do a Friday pickup. I'll tell you this, every month I get 35 gallons of gas at least once, sometimes twice, and I spend less than $5 for it for 35
Woo!
gallons. I've paid as little as
Wow.
like 202 for 35 gallons because I get my 4 times fuel points on Fridays for groceries I'm going to buy anyway. So
Pretty good.
Wow. So
saves a lot
you're
of money on
saying
gas.
less than $5 a gallon is what you're saying.
No, I'm saying total cost. Like I'll end up paying a few cents per gallon because I get all these fuel points.
Oh, wow.
So like I'll spend $200 on a Friday, and sometimes I'll end up with the minimum 800 points, which is 80 cents off per gallon. But sometimes I end up closer to like 1,000 points for whatever reason. They end up giving me more points on certain items. So every Friday I could have $1 off a gallon for 35 gallons. And I do that 3 Fridays in a month, and I've already got $3 off. So I've paid for like an entire, like I don't hardly have to pay anything
Oh,
for the whole
wow.
35 gallons.
Yeah.
I love it. I play that little
You
game and it works out. It's great.
utilize those things. My one of
Yeah.
my actually he's still my accountant, but he's also a good friend, and he would talk about gaming the system, beating the
Oh yeah.
beating
That's
the
what I'm working
system, man. And there's
on.
all kinds of different ways to do that. So we just want to encourage all you dads out there and moms too to just keep experimenting, keep doing what you got to do, hunker down, pull in the belt, and just do the best that you can to trim the fat and live on one income. We want to encourage you to do that. And we hope that some of the things we've shared with you tonight have either given you motivation or maybe some ideas of things you can do to save some money here and there. So we hope that God will bless you and that we can see you again next time on Fatherhood Friday. And we sure appreciate you being out there. If you want to send us an email, you can email us dads@preacherdad.com. That's dads@preacherdad.com. We'd love for you to subscribe to this podcast. It helps us keep on going. It's really encouraging. And we would love to read your question on the air if it is appropriate and free of profanity. And we will love to hear from you. So please feel free to
Be
reach
the
out
first
to us.
one. Be
Yeah,
the first one.
be the first. Somebody got to be the first. All right. God bless y'all. Have a great night, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.